Hi everyone, and well done for finding our next homework video. Here we're going to have a look at how your understanding of division has kind of developed over time. We're going to have a look at some strategies for division that start off easier, get progressively harder, and hopefully you'll understand how division methods link to multiplication as well. So we'll have a look at that. You'd have probably been introduced to division by seeing the link between multiplication with arrays, like the arrays that you can see here. So for example, you can see that 3 times 6 is 18, because 6 lots of 3 or 3 lots of 6 make 18. Now, of course, you could also see the link then to division when you see 18 divided by 3. So the 18 here splits into 1, 2, 3 groups is 6, because we've got 6 in each group. And then you can make the link between 6 multiplied by 3 makes 18. And of course that would apply on a more difficult example here. So like we've got 12 circles this way, and we've got 16 this way. So if I was to do 192 divided by 16, essentially I'm saying how many 16s are there in 192? So I could kind of work that out by going, well, there is 10 16s, so that's 160 in that bit, and here that's 2 16s, so that's 32. So essentially I've split the 192 up into 160, 10 16s, and 32, 2 16s, to give me 192, which is 10 16s, 2 16s, 12 in total. And of course, 16 multiplied by 12 is 192. So hopefully you've come to understand division as the inverse, the opposite of multiplication. See if you can have a go at answering these questions mentally. So pause the video and then we'll have a look at some strategies. Okay, so I imagine you did the first one by going, well, how many 8s are in 56? And of course you'll know that there are 7. 7 times 8 is 56. Whereas the next one, you'd be thinking, well, 7 8s are 56, and so there must be 8 7s make 56, and that must leave a remainder of 3. That one, of course, is a little bit less obvious because 59 isn't a multiple of 7. And then for the final one, I'd be saying, well, how many 2.5s are in 100? So for this one, I imagine you went in a couple of steps and you thought, well, 2.5 times 2 is 5, and then how many 5s in 100? Well, there are 20, and so in total, 2.5 times 40 must make 100. Now, the bus stop method is often a method that's used for division, and it can be a relatively easy method to use if you practice it enough, but it's quite a difficult method to understand how it works and how it links to multiplication. Now, essentially, if I'm doing 247 divided by 7, I've got to ask myself, how many 7s are there in 247? Now, with the bus stop method, I'd start off by saying, well, how many 7s are there in 2? And of course the answer to that is there aren't any, and so I would say carry the 2. And then I'd be saying to myself, well, how many 7s are in 24? Of course 7 3s are 21, and then the difference between 21 and 24 is 3, and that carries over. And then finally I'd say to myself, well, how many 7s are in 37? And of course the answer to that is 5. 7 5s are 35. And the difference between 35 and 37, the remainder, is 2. Now, what I've essentially done here is I've split this 247 up into 37s, which is 210, and then I've also split it up into 5 7s, which is 35, and I've split it up into the remainder, the 2. And if I add those up together, of course, that makes 247. Now have a go at the question below using the bus stop method. Okay, so let's have a look. So here you'd be saying, well, how many 4s go into 6? Well, actually there is one that would go in there, and then that would leave a remainder of 2. So I'll be saying to myself now, well, how many 4s go into 23? We'll know that 5 4s are 20, and the difference between 20 and 23 is 3. And then I'd be saying, well, 8 4s are 32, 7 4s are 28. So there's only 7 full 4s in there. So 7 4s are 28, and the difference between 28 and 31 is 3. And I would actually give my answer as 157 and 3/4. We'll go into explaining why it's those 3/4 in class. Now I've essentially broken that number up into 400, which is 100 lots of 4, 200, which is 50 lots of 4, 28, which is 7 lots of 4, and that leaves me with 3 left over. Now, when it comes to dividing by 2-digit numbers, the bus stop method can become trickier because, of course, you're not as familiar, for example, with your 16 times table. So again, try and remember that what we're saying is how many 16s are in 412. And the method that can be used, we call chunking, where essentially we're working out how many 16s go into 412 and taking off 16s until we can't take off any more lots of 16. So, for example, I could start off by saying, well, I could take away here 16 times 10 is 160, and times 20 is 320. And if I do 412 take off 320, I'll be thinking, well, I've got to work out, and let me just write down 16 times 20. I'd have to count on to find the difference between 412 and 320. 80 more to make 400, and then 12 more, so I'd be on 92. And I'd now be saying to myself, well, how many 16s in 92? Well, if 16 times 10 is 160, then 16 times 5 has got to be 80. So if I take that away from the 92, that will of course leave me with 12, and there aren't any more full 16s left, so I'll think, well, how many times did I take 16 away? I took it away 20 times, and then those 20 and those 5, so in total 25, giving me my answer of 25, remainder 12. Now I'm actually going to change this question a little bit to make it a little bit different in form from the last one, and have a go if you can carry out that calculation. 274 divided by 12. So 12 times 20 would be 240. If I take that away from 274, that will leave me with 34. And I know that 12 times 2 is 24, so that will leave me with 10. And of course I can't take away any more lots of 12, so in total I'd have taken off 22 lots of 12. And my remainder would be 10. Now, before we move you on, we want to make sure you've got a really good understanding of the two methods that we've taught you there, the bus stop method and the chunking method. Now, if you have, we'll move on to these more efficient written methods for doing division, which are outlined here. If you think you've got a really good understanding already, then see if you can have a look. The version on the right is the most advanced version. See if you can understand where the different aspects, the different numbers come from, and how it links to the chunking method and the bus stop method, and we'll work on that in class. Okay, well done, and we will look forward to having a go at these things when you get back to school.